Hi guys, I haven't uploaded in a while, so I'm uploading now. Sepron, the Sea Serpent, Chapter 6, Discovery on the Island. Rowing was hard work. Sweat plastered Tom's tunic to his body. His hand tingled from gripping the oar. Elena's hair clung to her face, and she snatched a moment to wipe her forehead. An eerie silence surrounded them. The only sounds were the creaking of the oars and the slap of the blades on the water. Actually, I think I can let you find them. Hopefully you saw that. As they headed out to the sea, the water became choppy. The current seized the boat, and it became harder to row. Tom's muscles strained as he thrust the oars deep into the churning water. They had to keep going. He squeezed his eyes shut and tried to ignore the screaming pain of his muscles. He could hear Elena panting with the effort. Gradually, Tom realized that he could make out the shape of a rock island in the misty dawn light. "Let's head over there," he told Elena. "I think that's where I saw Sepron just before the tidal wave." He looked over his shoulder, peering into the mist. There was no sign of the sea serpent. Tom felt an icy shiver down his spine as he thought of the great head rising out of the water. Then Elena let out a cry. "Tom, the boat's leaking!" Tom started. Water was washing around his feet, and more was oozing through the repair Elena had made the day before. He was so wet from launching the boat that he hadn't noticed. The Tom hasn't had time to set properly. We'll have to beach the boat and fix it. "We can't go back to the village," Tom said, alarmed. "Give me your oar. I'll row while you bail. We'll try to land on the rocky island." Elena started to row again while Tom cupped his hands and bailed out the water. The island gradually grew closer, and Tom spotted an narrow strip of pebbles between two spiky crags. "There!" he exclaimed. The water swirled dangerously around the rocks as Elena rowed between them. Struggling to keep the boat steady on course, the boat lurched and rocked in the waves, but at last Tom felt the bottom scrape against the pebbles. Puffing out a grateful sigh, Elena pulled the oars into the boat. Then they both leapt out and dragged the boat out of the water. The drawing. Sorry. While Elena packed the rope and tar more firmly into the hole, Tom scooped the rest of the water out of the bottom of the boat. When he had finished, he walked down to the water's edge and scanned the sea. The surface shone silver in the growing light out of the morning, and was rigid with waves that burst into foam as they hit the rocks. "Where are you, Sepron?" Tom wondered aloud. "There," Elena said at last. "That should hold it until we get back to shore." Tom knew that by now the sun must have risen over the hills inland, but the sea mist seemed suddenly to have grown thicker, and he couldn't see the land. The water level had sunk even further. More of the rocks were exposed, and seaweeds lay everywhere. Tom wrinkled his nose at the smell. A silverfish was flapping helplessly on a flat rock. Elena gave it a gentle push, and it flopped back into the sea. "What now?" she asked, gazing round. Tom pulled out the map and hastily unfolded it. The map showed Sepron in the water beside this island, he muttered. He must be close. He looked back up at the sea. It was still quiet. Beneath those waves, Sepron was lurking. If that huge serpent burst through the surface of the water now, Tom and Elena wouldn't stand a chance. There was no point hanging around. They had to get out there and find the beast. Let's look around, Tom suggested. We might spot something that will show us where to find Sepron. Together, he and Elena clambered over the rocky base of the island. There was nothing to see except more seaweed and tiny scuttling crabs. Drawing? Oh wait, no, sorry. This is hard. This is very hard. Beautiful. Sorry. There had to be a clue somewhere. Then Tom spotted an iron hoop driven into the rock. Hey, he called to Elena. Come and look at this. Elena hurried over to join him. Examining the hoop, Tom saw that a thick golden chain was fixed to it, leading down into the water. It was draped with seaweed and covered with barnacles, but it still gave off a mysterious glow, which faded as the chain sank deeper into the water. Elena caught her breath. Do you think it's enchanted? Tom crouched down and touched the chain. Then he nodded. This must be what's trapping Sepron, he said. That's the end of chapter 6. I hope you enjoyed, because next chapter will be very good. Anyways, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Smash that like button, and that's it. Thank you all for watching.